Going to take you live now to Sydney and the set of Wolverine, the Prime Minister there with Hugh Jackman posing for the cameras.
Plenty of smiles there. Of course, the set currently under construction in Sydney. The Prime Minister's had a good look around with Hugh Jackman. There's been tweeting some photographs of looking at the makeup room and various aspects of the set. She will be holding a news conference sometime a little bit later on. Should be fairly shortly, and of course we'll be bringing that live here on Sky News as well. We do expect to hear some questions shortly, so let's take a listen.
Okay, thank you everyone. Everyone can take a seat,
please. Maybe shortly. It's been choreographed in the best of Hollywood traditions to within an inch of its life, but here she comes back again.
She looks pretty happy though, doesn't she, standing next to Hugh Jackman?
Yes, it's a most opportune time for the Prime Minister to be reflecting in the glory of Hugh Jackman. Let's have a listen now. Take two.
Okay, well, if I can start by saying what a great pleasure it is to be here in such fine company to have a look around the set of Wolverine. I am very proud to be here because this is a tremendous venture, but it also means Australian jobs. Last week I was in Western Australia, and there we were talking about the future of the mining industry, the future of the north of our country, all of the jobs in resources, all of the jobs in agriculture, all of the benefits of a diversified economy. It's great to be here in Sydney talking about how our creative industries can play their part in that strong, diversified economy. This movie is going to create over 2,000 jobs, and I've met some of the people who are already working today, and they're in jobs that from the outside you wouldn't really identify with movie making, whether it's the people who are bent over the sewing machines making the clothes, whether it's the craftsmen who are making the soft furnishings or all of the vases and decorations you will see in this movie. It's bringing together people with a wide skill set and creating work. So it really is great to be able to be here. I'm proud that we were able to support this movie with $12.8 million of government funds. I spoke to Hugh about that earlier in the year, and he explained to me that without government assistance it would be very hard to see this venture take place in Australia. I wanted these Australian jobs, I wanted the injection into our economy, I wanted the skills that it would mean for the future, and I'm very, very satisfied, having walked around, that this movie is going to accomplish all of that, as well as be a great film. So thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you. Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, Prime Minister, for being here. I'd like to introduce James Mangold, who's our director. Thank you all for coming. We start filming in a week, and I am so happy to be home. To be shooting a movie of this magnitude here at home, it to me is one of the great privileges I've had in my career. I'm lucky both Wolverine movies have been shot here, which is just such a great thrill, because we have a terrific Australian movie industry, as you all know. And I think what these foreign films do, or international films do, by having them here, we really can train so many people within the industry. As you all know, we punch above our weight. Aussies punch above our weight, not only as actors, but as crews. I think in the last 20 years, 5 cinematographers have won Oscars, editors, costume designers, production designers. We really have a great reputation. And movies of this scale, this movie will bring in over $80 million into the country. And movies of this scale really help to keep the crews working, keep the skills high at a world-class level. So I wanted to thank today, in particular, the Prime Minister and your government for all you've done to make this possible. I want to thank the New South Wales government, who have also contributed to make this possible. And James, thank you so much for coming here.
It's a pleasure.
I can guarantee you, you're going to have the best crew of your life here in Australia.
I think you're right.
Not only that, the best beaches, the best food. You're going to have the best time ever. But thank you so much for coming. It's going to be a great 4 or 5 months we have here, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you guys all again at some point.
We just have about 5 minutes for questions, so anyone have any questions for Hugh and James.
Hugh, Brad watching Flash News and Pictures. Can you confirm that you've offered the Prime Minister a role in the movie?
Well, it's not a traditional role. It's a stunt double role for myself. We just did a quick audition. She's incredible. I don't know if you know of her martial arts background. This movie is set in Japan, and she really is very handy with the sword and with the nunchuckers.
Couldn't guessed as the Scarlet Witch, perhaps.
Hugh, can you tell us, have you confirmed who the female lead will be in the movie now?
Can we confirm that today, Jim?
We're not going to confirm anything.
Another one through the keeper, sorry.
How many more in the franchise do you think? How long will this be?
That's interesting. I'm sure, by the way, there's a couple of questions there. I'm sure the franchise will live long beyond me. This character, which I was lucky enough to start 12 years ago, was from a comic book that started 50 or 60 years ago, and there is a massive following for it. So for me, I do it one at a time, mate. So I see how I go. And when I saw the script for this, and when Jim and I got on board, for me, I feel like a golfer always looking for the hole in one, and I thought this was the best script we've had, and this is our chance to make the definitive movie. So I'm just going to concentrate on this, and then we'll see.
Mr. Mangold, just a quick one about the story itself. Without giving too much away, can you give us a brief basis?
Well, I think I think you've probably read or know a little of it, but it's based on a very incredible series of comics by Frank Miller and Chris Claremont, which detail the kind of journey that Wolverine makes to Japan, and a kind of adventure and kind of mystery that occurs there. I wouldn't want to give much up about what happens, but I think it also speaks to the incredible craftsmanship that both of my friends here were talking about, that we can make so much of Japan, feudal Japan, urban Japan, sets, all here on our sound stages in Australia, which speaks to the kind of the great artisans and designers we have here.
Hugh, how hard has it been to get the body from Les Miserables to Wolverine?
It's not easy, it's true. And by the way, it gets harder every year. That was a particular challenge because Les Mis, I had to start at 83 kilos, so finish about 97 kilos by the end of the movie. And then we did have a holiday recently, but it was more like boot camp for me. Yeah, but the kids and Deb were happy. Yeah, they were having a good time.
Prime Minister Colin, for Encore and Umbrella, what's the likelihood of the location offset being bumped up as it has for Wolverine for other blockbuster films?
Look, that's a good question, and Hugh's certainly spoken to me about the importance of this for getting these big movies, these real blockbusters here in Australia. It's something that Minister Crean is working his way through as he deals with our cultural policy. That's going to deal with movie making, but right across Australia's cultural landscape. For example, yesterday I had the very special delight of giving out the Prime Minister's Literary Awards. So we'll be looking to that cultural policy later in the year, and Minister Crean will be dealing with those questions then.
James, Tim from Australia. Just wonder if you can give me an overall figure for the film.
Nope. I know we're spending roughly 80 million here, but in terms of the final figures of the movie, that's all coming down right now to brass tacks ourselves, so that's something we're all figuring out.
Prime Minister, you've said the Commonwealth has spent 12.8 million on this. Is there any back end in the movie is this an investment or is this just a grant? Are you getting any return back on this?
No, this is a grant, a support. The question before about better location tax arrangements, obviously it's the kind of support the movie would have got if we moved to that new tax regime. It is about attracting the investment here, but also the skills and profile. So we decided it was a good investment. New South Wales Government played its part, and I think for our industry, Hugh said to me very consistently as we've walked round, these people with their very special skill sets, they've got to work, and if we're not able to provide them with something that holds them in Australia, then they've got to go where they've got to go to get work. We haven't seen a blockbuster in Australia since Australia with Hugh and Nicole, and so we are at risk of the skill sets being dispersed around the world, and importantly not bringing the next generation through. And one thing that's definitely happening here, I've met some young people, they are getting to hone their skills, their craft, because this movie is here.
For
Yeah, I actually don't know what happened. I think I burst a blood vessel in my right eye. I discovered it when Deb said, "What's happened to your eye?" And I think it was actually a very energetic game of tag with my kids on Sunday, but I'm sure it'll be gone in a day. But there you go. It's not that awful.
12 years the franchise has been going. You're
Yeah.
the only one to have played Wolverine.
Yeah.
It's a big chunk of your life. It
Yeah.
does represent something pretty special for you, this character.
It's definitely been the backbone of my career. I love the character. I still love the character. I think I happened to... Look, I had no choices at the time. I was going to take anything that came along, but I happened to have walked into probably the most interesting and complex of the superhero characters, and I love it. I've always loved playing it, and when I stop loving it, I'll stop doing it, you know. So I feel very blessed.
How does Deb feel about the fact that whenever you come home, there's always pictures of you without a shirt splashed in the papers with captions like Hugh's heavenly body?
Right. Well, you probably have to ask her about that. But she constantly says to me, my job as a husband is not to look good, it's to make her look good. So she's constantly telling me, can you please be doing a movie where you have to get incredibly fat? Please.
Hugh, you're good at getting bumps on seats. Any advice for the Prime Minister?
I don't think I'm going to let that one go through the keeper too, mate.
Hugh, quickly. As a star of a major action Hollywood franchise, I just wonder if you had any comments on the Colorado shootings and the Batman film the other day.
Nah, you know, all I can echo is just the sorrow I feel for the families, for the community, for everybody. It's an issue that goes way beyond, obviously beyond acting, beyond film or anything like that. This is just a tragedy on a level that we have experienced in Australia many years ago in Tasmania, and it's devastating. And I think I can't comment on any more than as a human being and my feelings for those people involved, everybody involved. Just to your question before, I was reading on an average these foreign movies bring in around about, to us we're spending over $80 million here, it's around about $100 million on average, 20 million which goes immediately back in tax revenue, not to mention the 100 million that is going right through the community, not to mention all these people out here going to restaurants, footy games, you name it. So I think it's on the balance sheet side of things, it's a win-win. What you can't quantify is the skills, is the confidence, is keeping Australia as world-class as we are in filmmaking, not just in acting but as crews, you know.
With mining going out the back door.
Well, I think as we've talked about a lot, you notice how I'm letting another one go through the key, but as we talked about, it really supports the Prime Minister's vision of the new economy, which I think is vital. Any industry we can really nurture or encourage, which is about knowledge, about skills, I think is terrific.
Football team will you be encouraging people to go and see?
Well, in rugby league it'll be Manly, yes. But I have managed to get Jim along to a Swans game. In fact, he's been to two.
Yes.
Two. And he's even done a little kick-to-kick on the field. He now has a real share in football. And I encourage him to wear his Swans thing today. Yeah.
Oh, not today.
Not today.
Well, also, Russell Crowe took me to a Rabbitohs locker room about a month ago.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about the Rabbitohs, mate.
I'm trying to service all sides here.
They're still the Western Bulldogs.
Just Rabbitohs. There's no T in Rabbitohs.
Rabbitohs.
Drop as many consonants as possible.
James, just in regards to Jessica, there was a lot of talk about her pulling out, some suggestions that it had thrown production into turmoil. How serious a problem
It's the story couldn't be more of a fantasy, frankly, in terms of what I was reading. So it's kind of was nothing more than a list of people we're considering and still are.
Any more questions?
I'm conscious we've got an audience of incredibly groovy people and some political journalists who probably want to ask me about questions of the day, so we'll organise that separately. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
On the Sydney set of Wolverine, the Prime Minister Julia Gillard, together with Hugh Jackman and James Mangold, the Wolverine director, an $80 million spend in Australia, this movie. And all we can say is look out Kevin Rudd. You heard it from Hugh Jackman. She's very handy with the sword and the nunchucks.
I think we should bring in our chief political reporter, Kieran Gilbert. Kieran, that line...